Revenge with Karen.
I knew the tides had turned when our new chief strategy officer started live streaming his coffee orders on Slack and demanding we all react with flame emojis. This was the same guy who, 3 weeks earlier, mistook a Sarbanes-Oxley clause for a Game of Thrones character. Troy Williams, nephew to the now-absent founder, had waltzed in with his gelled hair, crypto sneakers, and a personality built entirely out of LinkedIn jargon. And just like that, place I'd given 14 years of my life to morphed into a one-man ego circus. No one saw the founder leave. No speech, no farewell cake, not even a suspiciously cheerful email from HR. Just gone. One Friday, we were running year-end compliance reviews with him in the loop. Monday, his nephew shows up, parking in his spot, and calling the legal department the Vibes team. I'd spent over a decade quietly keeping our house in order, risk assessments, vendor compliance audits, cross-border regulatory reports. Most people couldn't even spell my title, but they damn well relied on me when things got hot. Now, I was being talked over by a man who once asked me if financial transparency meant putting our budgets on Instagram. And hey, quick pause. If you've made it this far, you clearly enjoy watching corporate train wrecks as much as I do. If you hit that subscribe button and toss us a like, keep stories like this coming. Our team's fueled by chaos, caffeine, and your clicks, so seriously, thank you. Anyway, my first real warning shot came during a cross-functional budget meeting. Troy barged in 15 minutes late, sipped an aggressively green smoothie, and pointed at me mid-sentence. "Serena, you still doing that, oversight stuff?" I blinked. "Compliance, yes, we were just," he waved me off. Cool, let's not bog this down with details. I'll circle back, we never did. By Q2, he'd replaced our quarterly integrity briefings with culture jams where people danced on camera. I was scrubbed from the monthly risk review invites. The reports I submitted were too dense, he said, and should be reimagined into something scrollable. One morning, he handed back a flagged vendor alert and asked if I could convert this into a meme. When I flagged a procurement issue, invoice inconsistency that could have spiraled into a contractual breach, he laughed. "Serena, breathe. We're a startup now. Chaos is part of the brand. We were not a startup. We were a 42-year-old firm with 3 layers of federal oversight. But sure, let's YOLO the SEC." My inbox started filling with just checking in emails from departments confused about why I hadn't signed off on their requests. I hadn't seen them. I had rerouted everything through his new project lead, an ex-fraternity brother with a minor in digital media and a major in not knowing what the hell he was doing. In one excruciating meeting, Troy referred to our vendor ethics policy as a suggestion box with better grammar. In another, he sent back a spreadsheet I'd spent 3 nights compiling with a sticky note. "Too many numbers. Can you make it more vibey?" I stapled it to my cubicle wall, souvenir from the downfall. But the moment my mild irritation slid into full-body unease, that came at 4:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was packing up to leave when Slack pinged, a message in the general company channel from Troy. No greeting, no context. Just, quick cue, does anyone have clarity on what Serena's role actually is? Genuinely not sure where it fits into the new vision. Open to thoughts. My blood pressure hit NASA launch levels. 57 employees, directors, interns, clients, all looped into one message that casually erased 14 years of expertise. I didn't reply. I didn't even blink. I just sat there, rereading it while my screen's glow turned from soft blue to a flickering glare that felt like mockery. That night, I poured a glass of something strong, opened a new folder on my desktop, and titled it Failovers V4. Because if this man-child wanted a war, it wasn't coming unarmed. The announcement came during lunch. I was mid-bite into a sad desk salad when my phone vibrated with the force of a nuclear warning. Slack again. General channel. Troy's favorite stage. Just a heads up, internal controls audit delay has been traced back to Serena's team. Unfortunately, it cost us the renewal with Altimax. She'll address her mistakes on tomorrow's all hands. I stared at the screen like it was written in Morse code. My fork froze midair. I reread the message 3 times while my brain went into a sort of soft reboot. Did he really just blame me for his decision, in a channel with over 100 employees, and the Altimax liaison still tagged from a previous thread? Let me walk you back. 3 months ago, I flagged a gap in our internal controls protocol during a vendor review. Standard stuff, misaligned approval flow, and a legacy policy that didn't match the actual system logic. Nothing sexy, but enough to trigger a risk note. I sent a memo recommending a third-party audit. Troy's response: let's not bring in outsiders, it'll spook legal. Table it till Q3. Prioritize the launch party deck instead. Yes, he said, launch party deck. For campaign that, as far as I can tell, launched absolutely nothing. So I tabled it, his written instruction. I documented the hell out of it, CC'd legal, and kept a running log in my failovers folder. Because I've worked under enough erratic executives to know, the ones who speak in motivational acronyms are always the first to throw you under the bus when the PowerPoints hit the fan. What I didn't expect was the sheer boldness of his lie. Not a meeting, not a quiet redirect. A full-on public shaming with zero warning. No prep invite, no side message. Just a calendar block titled, All Hands Mandatory at 10 o'clock a.m. the next day, with my name listed under presenters. No notes, no slides, just an assumption that I'd step into his narrative like a good little scapegoat. I didn't reply. I didn't react in chat. I sat there for 10 minutes, chewing the same piece of lettuce like it owed me rent, while my inbox quietly imploded with pity pings. Wait, what's happening? Is that real? You okay? No, and barely. At 2:14 p.m., I got a ping from HR. Hey, Serena. Just looping in, let us know if you need help prepping messaging for tomorrow's share out. Share out. Like I was about to present a diorama at a school fair, not publicly confess to a fabricated professional sin. I took a long breath, pushed my chair back, and turned to the one thing in this office that hadn't betrayed me yet, my backup drive. Clicked into my compliance archive. Opened the failovers V4 folder. Inside, email chains with Troy's deferral request, a time-stamped memo I sent to legal, my initial recommendation for the audit. A recorded call, company policy allowed it. He'd approved blanket call logging during his first week to increase transparency, irony bleeding from every syllable. I didn't rage, didn't cry, just dragged the folder into a new workspace and created a fresh document. Title: Statement of Clarification March Event Subtitle: Chronology of Audit Deferral and Associated Communications. It was not going to be a speech. It was going to be a record, a precise, surgical unraveling of the lie he'd wrapped around me like a noose. If Troy wanted me to confess, I'd confess to exactly what happened. Line by line, timestamp by timestamp, the quiet fury of a woman who'd just been dared to document her own salvation. I didn't go home that night. Not really. I microwaved some leftover pad thai, set my laptop on the couch cushion beside me like it was a sleeping pet, and started combing through the wreckage of the past 6 months. My apartment stayed dark, except for the blue glow of the screen and the occasional flicker from my building's ancient hallway light, which always gave off the vibe that someone had just been murdered. It felt appropriate. I had a system. Of course I did. When you work in compliance long enough, you either develop a fortress of documentation or you end up buried under someone else's negligence. I'd been through too many he said / she forgot cycles with execs who couldn't remember what color the truth was, so I tracked everything. The first thing I pulled up was my March folder. I knew the timing. The moment Troy started stomping around in his oversized authority. Knew when the audit conversation happened, just couldn't remember if I had the receipts to back it. Spoiler, I did. Email thread titled Urgent Vendor Flag Audit Recommendation. Sent, March 13, 9:08 a.m. To Troy Williams, legal, and me. My message was boring, professional, and correct. I flagged a payment inconsistency tied to a cross-functional access control lapse. Recommended an immediate internal audit to prevent it from spiraling into something uncontainable. Troy replied 9 minutes later, let's not start fires. Hold on this, we'll revisit post Q2. Legal never responded. I saved the thread. Next up, notes from our one the following day. I kept handwritten ones, then digitized them every Friday. March 14. The page had a coffee stain shaped like Florida and a quote from Troy circled 3 times. Compliance panic is a brand killer. Be cool, Serena. I almost laughed, almost. But what really sealed it, what made me sit up straight and whisper got you, was the team's call recording. March 14. 10:12 a.m. Meeting title, Compliance Risk Check-in Attendees. Serena Halberg, Troy Williams. Duration, 13 minutes, 44 seconds. Transcript, I had auto captions enabled. Troy, just bury the audit talk until after the launch, cool? Don't be the reason legal freaks out again. Me, but we're out of policy window. Troy, window, mind, no one's looking right now. And there it was. The moment he took a match to policy and asked me to hold the gasoline. I didn't even have to pull our own rulebook to confirm the legality of the recording. Troy's first act as CSO was implementing mandatory auto-record for all compliance check-ins to improve alignment and reduce email fatigue. His words. I'd printed the memo. By 2 a.m., I had stitched together a clean timeline. My initial recommendation, his written deferral, the follow-up meeting, his audio dismissal, my internal risk note from March 16, marked deferred by executive request. I could have stopped there, could have slapped the file together and sent it to HR with a passive-aggressive subject line like for your records. But no, that would have been the old me. The one who assumed silence was dignity. Instead, I opened a new document. Blank page, cursor blinking like a pulse. Header, statement of clarification, internal controls audit subheader, depot-style summary, not a resignation, not an apology, not a speech. A statement. The kind that clears throats in courtrooms, because tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m., I wasn't going to defend myself. I was going to narrate. By the time the sun came up, I had rewritten the statement of clarification 3 times, each version sharper, tighter, more surgical than the last. Not dramatic, just factual, deadpan, precise enough to double as a scalpel or an autopsy report, depending on who was holding it, and I'd be holding it. At 8:13 a.m., I got the first of 3 check-ins. Char pinged with all the gentle condescension of a guidance counselor after a cafeteria fistfight. Hi, Serena. Just checking in ahead of today's share-out. Are you comfortable taking accountability during your segment? Let us know if you'd like coaching on tone. Coaching on tone. The same department that once handed out stress balls shaped like thumbs-up emojis after mass layoffs was now offering emotional choreography before my public shaming. Typed back, I'll be honest. I've prepared remarks. No smiley, no exclamation points, just 6 words that could have doubled as a weather alert. At 9:02, I got pulled into a prep call hosted by Troy and one of the junior HR reps who looked like she'd cry if you asked her to define whistleblower. Troy showed up late, of course, still chewing something. Hair perfectly chaotic like he paid extra for it to look like he didn't try. Waved at the screen like a middle schooler logging into Zoom health class. Hey team, just want this to feel aligned. Serena, we're not trying to point fingers. Just give folks clarity, keep it light. Sound good? Clarity's good, I said. I'll be reading from prepared remarks. He blinked. You mean like a statement? Yes. Cool, cool, cool. Just make sure it matches the messaging. He flashed a smirk that probably worked on baristas and interns. Stick to the script, right? At his eyes, I wrote my own. The HR rep shifted awkwardly. Troy laughed. Love that. Just don't go full law and order on us, okay? He had no idea. At 9:21, a calendar reminder popped up. Observer review all hands. Attached was a link to a private Teams room, the kind legal used when they wanted to witness something without being too involved. Passive liability management, basically. The assigned observer, Adrienne Carter, senior legal advisor. I'd met her once in a compliance workshop where she corrected someone's pronunciation of fiduciary and then spent the next 20 minutes glaring at the coffee machine. She joined the call 5 minutes early, didn't say a word, just sat there adjusting her blazer like she was prepping for mugshot. As per protocol, anyone presenting material at a company-wide all-hands had to pre-submit documents to legal at least 30 minutes in advance. It was a stupid rule no one enforced until now. I emailed my document to the legal alias with the subject. Pre-submission statement of clarification, Serena Halberg. 2 minutes later, Adrienne's camera blinked. She tilted her head, squinted at something off-screen, and then disappeared. No got it, no thanks, no reaction. Just off. I pictured her reading the first paragraph at 10:12 a.m. on March 14. Roy Williams verbally instructed me to delay audit activity in direct contradiction of Section 4.2 of our internal compliance protocol. I closed my laptop for a beat. Took a sip of water. Everything was quiet. I'd done what I needed to do. Now all that was left was to read it out loud. Live, to everyone. When the company all-hands began at 10 o'clock a.m. sharp, there were already 187 participants in the Zoom room. By 10:03, the number had climbed past 230. At 10:07, the marketing team dropped a Slack ping in hash all staff saying, "This one's gonna be juicy eyes." By 10:10, there were over 300 people tuned in, more than the last product launch, more than the diversity summit, even more than the town hall where Troy cried after being named emerging leader of the quarter. They came for the blood. Screen opened with the standard slide. a navy background, white company logo, and beneath it in font too small to be that confident, quarterly alignment meeting. Troy's camera clicked on first. He was smiling, bouncing slightly in his chair like a kid waiting to unwrap his birthday Nerf gun. His mic was hot. "Hey team, thanks for making time. Before we jump into the big wins, we wanted to take a moment to clear the air around some recent audit concerns. Serena has something she wants to say. Wants. Like this was voluntary. Like I had spent the night scribbling apologies into my gratitude journal and had now shown up to bare my soul to the corporate gods. My camera turned on. I didn't smile. I didn't nod. I didn't hi everyone or thanks for the opportunity. I adjusted the angle slightly so the window light behind me looked almost clinical. Then I read. At 10:12 a.m. on March 14th of this year, Roy Williams instructed me to deprioritize an internal audit review that had been flagged as high risk under our vendor compliance matrix. I could hear the chat notifications start to slow. Not stop, slow. His exact words, per our recorded meeting transcript, were, "Just bury the audit talk until after the launch, cool? Don't be the reason legal freaks out again." This instruction contradicted Section 4.2 of our internal compliance protocol, which mandates that all vendor risk flags receive a response within a 10-day window. Troy's smile didn't move, but his eyebrows betrayed him, just the tiniest twitch of surprise. Then irritation. I continued. Documentation of this deferral was submitted on March 16th, including an internal risk memo marked deferred by executive request. This document was reviewed by legal, but received no further response. The lawyer's camera, one tucked quietly into the top row, unmoving since the start of the call, clicked off. Gone. No exit message. Just darkness where oversight used to be. I scrolled. No hesitation. Further review indicates that this was not an isolated incident. Between February and April, at least 3 audit escalation requests were paused or deprioritized by verbal instruction from Troy Williams. Supporting emails and call transcripts have been archived in Folder 3B of the Compliance Drive, under Failovers V4. Someone on the call hadn't muted their mic. I heard a whisper, almost involuntary. "Is she reading from a deposition?" I didn't look up. In addition, during a 1-1 meeting on April 6th, Troy Williams referred to audit protocol as a suggestion box with better grammar, and advised that I be cool rather than raise flags externally. This is corroborated by notes dated April 6th, scanned and timestamped in the same folder. The chat had frozen completely. Not a single reaction, emoji, or GIF. Even the designated Slack cheerleader from People Ops had gone radio silent. I paused, not because I needed to, but because I wanted the next line to land without interruption. This sequence of actions, verbal deferrals, written contradictions, and informal discouragement constitutes a pattern of obstruction noted in Compliance Log 2237A. That's when my screen glitched. Not technically, but atmospherically. Like the air had shifted, and I wasn't done, not even close. The screen went dark at exactly 10:18 a.m. Not just mine, everyone's. A frozen hush followed by a quick flicker, a corporate blue slide with the words "meeting suspended technical difficulties," in font so sterile, it may as well have come with a legal disclaimer and blood pressure medication. Slack exploded 30 seconds later. Private messages, emojis, people tagging Hashit support, even though we all knew the only technical difficulty was named Troy. I stared at my inbox as it filled like a sink with the drain plugged. "Hey Serena, just wanted to say I see you. Saved a screen recording if you need backup, say the word. Do you need support? I have screenshots and timestamp logs. Holy SHT, respect." I hadn't even stood up from my chair. I was still sitting in my apartment, back aching from tension, index finger hovering over the trackpad like I might scroll just one more time. At 10:23 a.m., I got the first email from HR. Subject: meeting suspension and next steps body. "Hi Serena, thanks for your contribution this morning. Given the unexpected direction of your remarks, we're pausing further communications until we can assess alignment. Please don't join any scheduled meetings for the remainder of the day. Translation: sit down and shut up while we try to duct tape the walls back together." I didn't reply. I knew what came next. Not because I'd been here before, but because I'd watched this play out too many times from the sidelines. I documented it for other people, reviewed the case files, seen what happened to the women who spoke too clearly, but I wasn't shaking. At 11:06 a.m., a new name appeared in my inbox. From legal at company parent group com subject, internal statement compliance call body. Serena, thank you for your remarks this morning. Your statement has triggered preliminary review under our internal whistleblower protection policy. Be reaching out shortly to schedule a call. Please do not respond to further inquiries without representation. Representation, whistleblower protections, parent company. That last one was important. See, our company wasn't really independent. We were one branch in a much larger corporate organism, tangled inside a spiderweb of subsidiaries, shell companies, and parent entities, whose logos only surfaced on tax forms and quarterly disclosures. I knew that, most people didn't. I'd been the one updating those ownership diagrams during mergers. So when the parent company got involved, it meant someone very high up had taken one look at what I said and whispered, "Oh no." At 12:14 p.m., HR tried again. A different tone this time. "Hi, Serena. Legal is reviewing your concerns, and we're supporting that process. For now, placing you on paid administrative leave while we coordinate next steps. Let us know if you need anything." Need anything? Yeah, maybe a time machine to before your golden boy thought humiliation was a strategy. At 1:42 p.m., the internal org chart updated. The Zoom link for the next leadership sync disappeared. By 2 o'clock, Troy's calendar went dark. Rumors started dripping into my DMs like faucet leaks. Troy was seen leaving the office early. He looked pale. Someone from legal was in the executive suite with the door closed for over an hour. "Did you really read from a deposition?" I didn't answer. I just brewed a cup of coffee and stared at my laptop while the emails kept stacking. The momentum had shifted. Not completely, not yet, but the air was changing. The silence around me wasn't punishment anymore, it was vacuum pressure. Everyone holding their breath, waiting for the next rupture. At 3:27 p.m., the message came, from an address I didn't recognize at first. Gen Counsel at company parent group com subject. Request for confidential call body. Ms. Halberg, we've reviewed your submitted documentation and would like to speak with you directly. Please let us know a secure time this week that works for you. No HR CC'd, no try, just me and the people who owned everything. The real owners. Just like that, I realized I wasn't just holding receipts. I was holding leverage. The next morning, I put on real clothes for the first time in 2 days. Not because I had anywhere to be, but because I was about to hand-feed evidence to a legal team big enough to crush entire departments. Button-down shirt, hair back, clean desk, no crumbs of emotional chaos. Just strategy, sealed and zipped into folders. At 9 o'clock a.m. sharp, secure line opened. The call was hosted by 2 people from the parent company's compliance division and 1 woman from external counsel whose voice sounded like it had personally ended several careers. No small talk, no "how are you holding up," just "please walk us through the timeline and supporting material." I already had the share folder built, read-only access, time-stamped edits, metadata intact, 14 documents total, an index sheet labeled, contradictions internal audit delay /Q1 Q2. Each document paired one of Troy's public claims with a contradicting artifact. His email deferrals, meeting invites he canceled, memos where he specifically requested I deprioritize compliance reviews to protect innovation bandwidth. That was his actual phrase, protect innovation bandwidth. I highlighted it in neon yellow, just to let it sing. I spoke slowly. No emotion, just the truth arranged like chess pieces. Every sentence nudged them closer to checkmate. But it was what came after that flipped the board. At 11:43 a.m., right as I was wrapping up the call, I got a message from someone unexpected. Daniel Cho, an assistant in finance who once thanked me for catching a double payment to a fake vendor his old manager approved. His message read, "Hey Serena, I thought you might want to see this. Not supposed to have it, but, well, I do." Attached, an internal spreadsheet titled Risk Offloading Strategy Conflicts. The file name was sloppy, but what it contained: fire, 6 tabs, dozens of line items, color-coded entries that looked like someone's idea of cleanup by camouflage. But nestled between expense reconciliations and vague streamlining projects was the smoking gun. A column labeled Flag Suppression Q1, rows of entries tied to vendors I had personally marked for review. Next to each, Troy's initials, TW, again and again. Some were marked OCT verbally, others tagged hold until after Q2, but the language was unmistakable. One row even read, suppress until Serena rotates out / restructure pending. I stared at that one for a long time. The rotation never happened. The restructure never came. Instead, he tried to skip straight to erasure. Added the spreadsheet to my folder. At 1:16 p.m., I received a follow-up email from the parent company team. Short, clinical, precise. Your documentation has been formally submitted to internal audit. We appreciate your cooperation. At 2:04 p.m., someone on Slack posted that Troy's photo had disappeared from the executive org chart. By 2:17, internal announcement went out from HR. Troy Williams has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. We appreciate your discretion as we navigate this matter. No details, no apology, just corporate antiseptic, but to anyone paying attention, it rang like a bell. I didn't react, not outwardly, but inside, something started to settle. Not victory, not yet. Just the sound of momentum changing direction. And for the first time in days, exhaled without flinching. By Thursday morning, the company was bleeding spin. The first blast came from the founder himself, yes, the same one who disappeared like a magician in khakis 6 months ago and hadn't been heard from since Troy's ascension. Apparently, exile makes a man nostalgic. He issued a statement through the company blog, which had previously been used only to brag about dog-friendly workspaces and wellness snacks. The title, Reflections on Culture, Generations, and Leadership. It started with the usual fluff, gratitude for the team, innovation in all forms, etc., then pivoted into what could only be described as a soft-focus gaslight. Recent events reflected generational miscommunication regarding strategy, compliance, and internal agility. While intentions were good, clarity was lost. Translation. Sorry someone told the truth, but wouldn't it be cooler if we all forgot? The comments were disabled. Cowards? By mid-afternoon, I got an email from HR, not the peppy generalist who once brought cupcakes for passive-aggressive morale, but the quiet one, the one who moved like she knew where the bodies were buried. Hi Serena, legal is eager to close this chapter cleanly. We'd like to extend a goodwill settlement offer to clarify any remarks made during the all-hands and avoid further confusion. Further confusion, not litigation, not investigation. Just confusion, like I'd accidentally yelled fire in a crowded theater and now they wanted me to hand out marshmallows. Attached was an NDA, 5 pages long, an apology statement, even pre-written language I could personalize. Payment was decent, very decent. Not shut up forever money, but please go away quietly money. I didn't even blink before replying, respectfully declined. Then, without asking for permission, added a calendar block to the company-wide invite system. Event name, Audit Protocol Refresher Mandatory for all departments. Host, Serena Hallberg, attendees. Internal invite only, duration, 45 minutes, format, workshop, no one responded. But by the time the session started the next day, 22 executives had joined the call. All with cameras off, except for one brave soul from procurement who nodded emphatically any time I said non-compliance isn't neutral. Legal did not attend, which was fine. I wasn't talking to them. The deck I used wasn't fancy. No GIFs, no brand gradient. Just screenshots, timelines, policy citations, and the phrase documentation protects everyone on every third slide like it was a sermon refrain. No one spoke until the end. Then someone unmuted and asked, "We covered for the stuff that's already been delayed." I looked directly into the lens and said, "Not yet, but we could be." The call ended in silence. I figured that would be the end of it. I'd done the damage, pulled the receipts, declined the hush money. What else was there? Turns out, promotion. At 4:22 p.m., my personal email pinged with a message from a name I didn't recognize but a domain I did, parent company again. This time, not legal. Not audit. Executive office. Subject, new role opportunity global oversight body. Ms. Hallberg, we've followed your handling of recent events with admiration. We'd like to formally offer you the position of Director of Oversight, Global Division. This role would allow you to help rebuild risk culture across our entire portfolio. I reread the line twice. Not fix this mess. Not put out the fire. Rebuild risk culture. They didn't want a cleaner. They wanted an architect. I leaned back in my chair, stared at the wall for a long second, and let the offer hang in the air like the aftershock of a door finally slamming shut behind you. Dry satisfaction doesn't come with applause. It comes with a job title. The memo dropped at 8:01 a.m. on a Monday, like all corporate pronouncements do, just early enough to rattle the insecure, and just late enough to spoil someone's oatmeal. Checked. Leadership Announcement Oversight Division from Executive Office, Parent Group Holdings to all staff. We are pleased to announce the appointment of Serena Hallberg as Director of Oversight, Global Division. Serena will lead cross-portfolio risk integrity efforts, reporting directly to our Chief Compliance Officer. Her approach to transparency, documentation, and operational accountability reflects our core values. No flair, no fanfare, just fact. That was exactly how I wanted it. I didn't respond to the congratulations, didn't post a selfie with the caption "New Beginnings." I just opened the compliance portal, re-enabled the whistleblower module Troy had marked redundant back in March, and changed one setting, training status mandatory, leadership tier only. An hour later, I sent a system-wide notification. All executives are required to complete updated whistleblower training before Q1. Within minutes, the VP of Product replied asking if it was really necessary. I ignored it. Let the system send him 3 auto reminders and a compliance flag. It felt cleaner that way. By noon, I had a formal invite in my calendar. Event, Quarterly Board Review, Presenter, Serena Hallberg, Location. Executive Conference Call Recording Enabled. I hadn't been on one of those calls in 2 years, since I got quietly edged out of the room by Troy's charisma and someone's hunger for fresh perspectives. Now my name was back, this time at the top. The camera turned on. I wore black. No logos, no earrings, no smile. I opened a legal pad, centered it in front of me, and looked directly at the lens. Then I said it. At 10:12 a.m. on March 14th, Troy Williams instructed me to deprioritize a high-risk audit. It wasn't déjà vu. It was closure. Words had landed like a blade the first time. Now they landed like a signature. The kind that seals the door behind you and hangs your name on the front of the building. Across the country, in a quiet lake house with a view of nothing and a legacy shrinking by the minute, the founder sat watching the call replay on his tablet. He didn't flinch. He didn't argue. He just sighed. She read us our own damn audit. The screen went dark. That night, I took the old failovers V4 folder and archived it. Not deleted, archived, because history deserves its place. But it didn't need to live on my desktop anymore. I shut the lid, exhaled, and whispered to myself, not bitter, not smug, just final. I didn't burn the bridge. I documented it. Thanks for joining the fun, you office survivors. Subscribe for more switch-flicking drama. Let's make your former coworkers sweat.